It's the Craggy Rugby Podcast. It's the home game against Cardiff edition. And we'll go straight into the commentary. Here's William and Rob to take you through the game and their thoughts straight after the match.
Connacht 12 metres inside the Cardiff half to be in the middle of the pitch. They go back from right to left, hands from Healy to Wootton. Wootton finds a space, charges through. Alex Wootton's going for the corner. Is he going to score? He's got another try for Connacht. He cannot stop scoring. 9 tries in 13 games. Out it comes for Connacht from Blade to Cardi to Delan. He gets through the contact. That's really, really clever. Connacht need to get the clear out and they're up to the 22. Cardi, lovely little pop pass on. Here goes Alex Wootton. Wonderful step for Wootton back inside. He's going for the line. He's scored another one. Alex Wootton scores an absolute gem of a try. Connacht set themselves with Dennis Buckley at the front. Boyle is next and he's going to be lifting Delan if it needs be, but instead it's Masterson the target and Delan lifts him. The ball is set and is transferred brilliantly and Connacht maul over the line and score a try. That is as good as you'll see. Connacht's forwards goes Jimmy Duffy will be absolutely delighted with that one. And they've touched it down, got the score. I think it may well have been Jared Butler. I'll get confirmation on that in a second. The main point is it was brilliant from all 8 forwards. What a response from Connacht, and boy did they need that. Connacht are pick and go now with the forwards. I don't think that worked out as smoothly as they'd like, that's for sure, but they still have possession in close, in the tight area if they keep it, and if they're smart they may get over the line. They're almost over there, they're driven back. It was Papaili himself trying to get in there, but he's decided to leave it off and then step out one man. Delan's trying to organise things. Connacht are just trying to move it on now. Papaili's going for the line. He's a hard man to stop. He's over. Connacht have a bonus point try against their arch rivals for second spot in the Pro 14. A lot of edge to this game in the closing stages. Connacht are over the ball, they're on their feet, they forced a turnover and they've got the penalty, and that is game, set and match at the Sportsground, and a long run of defeats, 4 in a row, can be put to bed.
It certainly can, and it's a great start to this run of 5 games, which is now 4 games left, and then take what you can out of this game, have a good look at it, and then get ready to go to Benetton on Friday evening, 5:30 kick-off Irish time. They haven't won a game all season, but Connacht won't take them lightly. But they will be delighted with this result. They'll be delighted with the clinical Alex Wootton at times. Good driving maul try. Papaili scoring the last one. When they got the opportunity to close this game down right at the end, they took it. They did get messy and their concentration dropped a little bit, but they upped it. And that's a huge statement from them, because earlier on in the season, when they've been put under that sort of pressure in home games, they haven't upped it. They've gone into their shells completely. They did that a bit this evening, and there'll be certain bits of that last period of play that will worry them. Cardiff had their chances, didn't take them. They started to panic a little bit. You can see now where their record is 1-6, lost 7 out of 13 games. They've only got 3 games left. They've Munster at home next Friday or Saturday, I'm not sure which day it is. Munster obviously in the pool here, and I would be prepared to say I think Munster could go over there and do a job without too much hassle, and that would change the things.
And now you're going to have a competition which is going to be a talking point, because where Ulster and Leinster are obviously miles clear in Conference A, Munster and Connacht are going to be miles clear in Conference B. The only slight difference is there's a good gap between Connacht and Munster, but yeah, that's only going to draw more frustration from the other nations really in terms of the performances. Yeah,
it is. And you know, you would look at a situation that the Scarlets, Edinburgh are effectively gone tonight because they're losing to Munster, and of course Edinburgh have to come here. So this is all set up for Connacht, and you can argue, well, look, finishing second in your conference, what does it mean? In a normal season, it would have got you into the quarter-final, semi-final.
I think we can safely do this quickly without confusing our listeners. As it stands, how many games left for Connacht? 4.
There's 4 games left for Connacht.
But we wonder, there is a plan to have some sort of Rainbow Cup mix between the South African teams and these teams, a separate competition. That doesn't look like it's going to happen, and we think what seems likely is they'll add a further 5 games to this competition. So from that perspective, there's work to be done. It's not over.
There's absolutely, well, there'd actually be 6 games, or there'd be 3,
and plus playoffs,
and there would be 3 games at home. So the playoff,
which Connacht would look very, very strong for.
I would much prefer if they did that. I didn't like the concept of the Rainbow Cup to start with, and I think now they're hoping to have intercontinental travel in April. I just can't see it, but that's for another time. Connacht tonight have done the job. They've got a bonus point win. That would have been the ultimate that they wanted.
Yes.
They were confident at times. They got well clear. They turned up the wick in the first half. Alex Wootton is a finisher. 2 really good tries. Bits of the second half, bit messy, bit shaky. By the way, I have no issue with Wootton being man of the match. I don't know why you have to announce it 5 minutes before the end.
But you think his brilliance in that first half?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what he brings. Finishers in any sport. The guy who can put the ball in the net or over the try line, or it doesn't matter what sport you're playing. That's what you're looking for, and he has it, and he's in form, and he's backing himself.
We scratched our heads a little bit at the Ospreys' performance. Now, it should be said, the Ospreys had a full strength side. Cardiff don't. Connacht, just by fortune of the likes of Aki, Heffernan, even Delan being available, had an edge there. So that changes things, of course. But you've got to get the job done in those fixtures, and that's what Andy Friend's sides do since he's come here. They get the job done in those fixtures. Yes, there are times when they go on losing streaks against the top quality opposition and you just scratch your head at some of the ways they lose those games. But the last 2 weeks, mightily impressive in terms of 10 points from 2 games.
Absolutely, and that's what they are looking for. Games like Munster, where they could have stolen at the end but didn't really compete. Ulster, there was a first half performance, no second half performance, and the Ospreys game and the Scarlets game at home here, those are the ones that leave you scratching your head a bit. But I suppose they are still quite a young side. I'm surprised when I look at the ages of these players and I realise that they all don't have the amount of experience. But tonight they married it, and I'm particularly impressed with what happened off the bench. And there was just in the first half, there was a bit of confidence there, and they took those 2 tries. What is the frustration? First 6 minutes of the second half, they were in the Blues 22 fort 3 times, and it got progressively messier. That's the clinical that you need. That's what your Leinsters bring, and your Munsters and Ulster this season. They get those chances and they say, we're taking this now. So
as we bring this to conclusion and do one last assessment of things, the story of this game is Cardiff set out with a really, really strong line out. Lots of good early possessions, getting through the tackles and making things happen, winning the penalties, getting the early try from Rhys Kerr. They led by 10-6 at one stage, Cardiff with a couple of penalties, and then those closing 15 minutes of the half when Connacht got to grips with Cardiff's line out, turned it over a few times, and then we saw the wonderful high octane rugby that saw Alex Wootton score 2 amazing tries. Jack Carty was outstanding in the midst of all that. They lead 20-10 at half time. They come out the second half, like you said, they're on top, and then momentum sucked out of it. Then Cardiff come back, they get within 3 points, and you're saying, are we back in this territory? Are we back in a situation where Connacht aren't going to see a game out? And it's the bench, it's the maul, it's the line outs. That's what changed it, isn't it, in those closing stages? Absolutely. I think attacking the Cardiff line out, it got under their skin because they'd been cruising through that. But then Shane Dillahunt came on, first line out he threw into Connacht got a rolling maul going for the first time in the game. That seemed to suck a bit of life out of it. And bearing in mind that Cardiff had just got back to within 3 points, which was absolutely key for them. And I'm tempted to say that a better side than Cardiff would have made more out of that. Their position now is played 13, they've won 6, they've lost 7. You can see why. Yeah. Because Connacht upped it again, and we're at 11 points between Connacht. You can't believe it. And Connacht are 7-5, which if I had said to you that's where Connacht to be, you would have expected them to be in the midst of about 3 or 4 sides, or maybe two other sides. You'd expect them to be in good position. But it's just teams are beating each other below, and there hasn't been any quality emerging from the mess so far. That might happen, but it might be too late to catch Connacht, which is great news for Connacht now. They can look up and maybe have a go. If they get the win over Benetton, they'll at least go to Thomond Park in 2 games' time. Oh yeah, something to play for. They'll go to Thomond Park, and they should go down there, and I wouldn't say with a bit of swagger, but they want to go down there with a bit of confidence, try to play some of that rugby. Munster, that's a fascinating weekend because Leinster and Ulster play Leinster in Belfast that weekend. That's really going to decide Pool A or Conference A. It's also, there's 2 more Six Nations games to be played after that weekend. There'll be a lot of guys there still, strong teams looking to get their chance. Jack Carty tonight at times. Yeah, I was going to ask you, because our listeners will be wondering, a few people will be driving home, they'll be like, Connacht have done well, they've just heard me say Carty was amazing in that first half and saw this game right to the end really, really well. Tell our listeners, has he added to the kind of talk around him what he did this evening? Yeah, I think so. His goal kicking was peerless bar 1, which is an issue that's been talked about. Defensively, he made some good tackles, he made some good reads in defence. A couple of kicks went a bit too far. That happens. Look, no player is 100% perfect, because if they were, nobody would ever score in a game. It would always be 0-0. But I think he has shown what he can do. The way he made
the second try. Bundyaki did the drive, he did the pass on, and then the little loop round flip is the sort of thing that if that was a French player doing it, we would be going berserk and saying, look at what Dupont does. Well, Jack Carty did the same thing there. The fact that he had Alex Wootton ready to take it is another part of the story, but I think Jack Carty has to come back into the mix if you want a playmaker who is up on the line and ready to go. That's what I'm seeing. Whether Ireland see it that way or not, I don't know. I hope for his sake that he has just waits and sees what's happening. But tonight, that was if you were giving him a mark, I would say you would give him 7 3/4 out of 10, which would be, and that's pretty good going.
Pretty good going in a week where everyone's talking about him, and a lot of people, there'll be some nice flashy highlights from it as well, which will help him in the social media argument. That seems to matter an awful lot these days. I'll say this as well just before we go. Alex Wootton, some people might start to ask, if he's scoring 10 tries in 13 games, if he was doing that for Munster, William, he'd be in the Ireland squad, that kind of stuff. What do you think?
He would be, and I still think your winger, look, wingers have a lot of responsibility these days. They have to be very good defensively. That mightn't be his absolute strongest point. They got to be able to tackle, they got to be able to kick. Well, he's kicked a few times here, but he wouldn't get the sort of space that you get in Pro 14 in international rugby. But they're working on such tight margins. If you have a guy who has speed and the eye for the finish, to me, he has to come into calculations. If he's not coming into calculations, then you're looking, who are you looking at for the wing? Keith Earls is coming to the end of his career. Jacob Stockdale is injured at the moment. They tried him at fullback. He's not a fullback, he's a winger. Defensively, Jacob Stockdale has major issues. So I'm saying, and I am, talking about position, to me, if there was a summer tour and you were taking players, he would be an outside bet. He's not the finished article, but I think because he's 28 years of age, he knows his game, and he must know at the moment that he's playing good rugby and he's finishing. And it's scoring tries in modern rugby is a big job. I mean, the defences are there. You have to be able to read them and beat them. And tonight, twice, he made the right decisions and was in.
I feel like we're working in reverse on the big headlines, but just as we bring this to conclusion, I would like to talk about Abraham Papaidi a little bit, because I think he's been a bit of drama this season, alright, and I mean this in the right way. He's had 2 red cards. His tackling technique coming from rugby league seemed all off. There was a temptation after a mistake late on the game against, I'm pretty sure it was the Ospreys, I hope I'm not wrong there, where he comes onto the field, he's a little bit all over the place, and he goes on a solo run at the end and gives away a turnover, and we're all like, is this worth the effort? And a lot of good debate afterwards, and the general consensus was, yes, he's a powerful athlete, he's figuring it out, he's a good character. Tonight, he's going a good step of the way, and last week against the Dragons, or 2 weeks ago I should say, he seems to be taking some really good strides forward. That try, that was more than just a late try. His performance in those closing stages was good. His
positional play, he held a guy up over there and caused a turnover when Cardiff were trying to attack. I think last week, I get the impression there was a bit of disappointment that he only managed 49 minutes and he was off the field in the first half for 10 minutes when he was taken off and Finlay Bealham was yellow carded, and he had to come off the field to let the prop on. And fitness is an issue, but he was a punt at the start of the season,
and Connacht have to do that. They're not going to get someone of his power, stature and size on the open market who's already doing it in rugby. They have to take a chance on players. That's the reality of the market they're in, isn't it?
And they've worked incredibly hard. He has worked incredibly hard, yes, but they've also worked incredibly hard with him. But tonight, last week he took his try very well. Tonight was different. He had to come on and be a finisher, or what do they call a bouncer, as they're called. He only had 7 minutes, but in that 7 minutes he won a turnover, or he caused the start of a turnover phase for Cardiff. He got down the field, he made a run off the back of the scrum with power, changed the point of direction, was involved twice at the ruck and was in there. And now that's what he's expected to do, but that's what you need powerful men. And I think he's done well, and we'll be interested to see if he stays on. We haven't heard anything yet, but in those little cameos, he certainly has shown what he can do. And big men running at that speed. I mean, as I said, when he replaced Owen Masterson, Owen Masterson is a big man. Abraham Papaili is somewhat further ahead than that. He's just a huge man, but he did move very quickly there, and that's something Connacht haven't had, is one of these really hard hitting driving forwards. Whether he's the man for the job going forward, we'll have to wait and see. But so far so good in the second part of his season. The first part of his season's a bit of a write-off.
And we have like Boyle, Masterson tonight, Butler coming back to what we know him to be. They were all brilliant tonight, weren't they? This was an all-round. Look, there was mistakes, but this is a bonus point win against your nearest rivals for second spot in the conference. This is a good weekend.
This is a great weekend for them, and now they have to get over this, examine it, and then get ready to go to Benetton. As I say, Benetton are the ultimate banana skin now. I think they've played 11, they've lost 11. They probably should have beaten Munster at home. They're going to have most of their team away playing with Italy in the Six Nations against Ireland, but that's another job, another setup. Whoever starts, they got to go out and be as professional and organised as they have been tonight here. What they want to bring to that game is the second 20 minutes of the first half and the last 15 minutes of the game. They got to marry that, and they got to get that up to an. You can't play at that pitch all the time, I think, although the likes of Leinster seem to be able to do it. But even last night, they switch on and off. Connacht have got to switch on quickly for that game. That could be a really tricky, messy game. It's going to be a very difficult place to go, but they need to get down there and get some more points on the board, start stretching it out.
And before we talk to Dave and Linley, as the wind starts to pick up here and it's very, very cold, here's what Andy Friend and Alex Wootton had to say at the press conference.
All right, lads, first of all, congratulations. Start with you, Andy. I mean, I was just thinking to myself there, as good of a performance as that was a much better result even. I mean, it's a tremendous result for Connacht.
Yeah, it's a great result, mate, and I thought it was a performance that deserved the result that it was. It wasn't perfect, but it never is. But it was certainly a lot more clinical, and that was what we talked about in the build-up this week today, just about trusting our system, about looking after the ball, and when we've got it, and in defence, making sure we get hard off the line. And I just thought, across a very large percentage, probably about 85% of the game, we did that. So really pleasing.
For a smaller percentage, 10 minutes at the end of either half, Connacht were absolutely outstanding. 2 brilliant tries at the end of the first half, and just a very, very strong forward display to close out the game at the end of the second.
Yeah, I thought you're dead right. I mean, at 35 minutes, we got our first try, courtesy of this bloke beside me, and then 5 minutes later, we get another one. So to go in at half time with those 2 scores, that's exactly what you want to keep you buoyed and get you into the second half. So 20-10 at half time, and then, as you said, the way we finished it, I thought was really good. So really pleased with that.
Someone met you on the street and said, that lad Alex Wootton's pretty good for you. What would you say to them?
Well, I said, you know him. I know him as well. He is good. So, yeah, listen, he is, mate. He's been brilliant for us since he's come in, and has a way of finding that try line. Did it again tonight with 2 beauties. I just love his speed. I love the way he reads the game, and the confidence that he has out there. So it's nice having a bloke like that on the end of the line.
This may be more of a press conference question, but I have to say it after a performance like that. There's only 4 provincial teams in Ireland, and one of the wingers on one of those 4 provincial teams has 10 tries in 13 games. I mean, should he be getting a little bit of a look in because of that?
Yeah. Listen, everyone's going to have an opinion on that. I mean, I think we've got a few blokes that should be getting look-ins, but I know Alex has caught the attention of the national selectors previously. That won't hurt his chances there again tonight, as will a few other performances. So all we can do, mate, is play our best rugby as a team, and all these blokes can do is play their best rugby as individuals. And when that happens, hopefully you get the reward.
Speak of the team, it was a lovely team try, Alex's second one. That was everything that you wanted to do against Cardiff. You kept the ball moving. We speculate that you were doing that to obviously, not have that contest at the breakdown. It was high-octane rugby. You must be delighted with it. Do you want to take that, Alex?
Yeah, no, I'll take it. Going into the game, we knew if we went through phases, I think with any team we play, we've got the belief that we can break them down when we go into phases, especially in their half, in their 22. So it's something that which we definitely put a lot of focus on during the week, and it was nice to show it came in dividends tonight.
Yeah, the game opened up a bit towards the end of the half. Do you feel like you need to work on the start? It looked like Cardiff had that little bit more energy and got at you. What changed as the game progressed?
Yeah, look, I don't know where you are, but it looks like you're in the ground. You probably saw what the conditions were like in the first half in that corner, especially where myself and Poach were a lot the second half. They obviously pinpointed that corner and they chuck it in there. The wind was fairly favouring that corner, so obviously we had a bit iffy start down there. I got completely stepped in one of them, so we're lucky to actually phases that we conceded. But yeah, look, we had a bit of a tricky start. That's definitely something to work on. Either side, but yeah, we've always got that belief.
Yeah, and that belief as well in the closing stages. Look, you probably had to answer multiple questions about how Connacht finished games, so you'll be proud of the way you saw that one out.
Yeah, absolutely, and nice to get back to winning ways at home.
Well done, Andy. Just on that, Connacht are suddenly a point closer to Munster. It seems like an insurmountable hurdle, but at least you can look up more than looking down now. You're closer to Munster than you are to the teams below you.
Yeah, well, we said coming into this run of 5 games, all we can do is win, and if we can win with bonus points, we keep the pressure on Munster. We know we've got them in 2 weekends' time. We're not getting ahead of ourselves there. We still have to go across to Treviso next Friday. You know, they can be a tricky side. We saw what happened there a few weeks ago against Munster, where Munster snuck it at the death. So. We've got to go, we've got 6 days to recover now, to get over there, to put in another really good performance, and we'll see where we are after that. But we are getting closer, and we know we've got them in a few weeks' time.
You always go on about the bouncers. You were brilliant at the end there, Andy. We were spending a good bit of time talking about Abraham Papaili. You must be delighted for him and for all the players who came off the bench, but particularly him. He's really, if he keeps that kind of performance up, obviously he's going to settle in much better. Yeah,
I mean, you get a 5 metre scrum near the end of the game. You got a bloke who's been on for about 4 minutes. No better man than Abraham Papaili to come on. I'll have to ask him why he went left and not right, but anyway, he chose to go left. But then got across the line a few phases later. So I'm really pleased for him. Again, like Alex, he has a knack of finding that try line, and good to see him out there playing some rugby.
Dave, what a win. Bonus point. Denied them a losing bonus. Just couldn't have asked for any more.
If you're looking at what do you want from the minimum from a game in terms of outcomes, and a day like today, performance doesn't come into it. And to be fair, there was a lot for the guys to work on over the course of the week. It was far from perfect. There's a lot of things there that were maybe dictated by the conditions, but especially the start of the second half. A lot of they could have potentially been an absolute shellacking if they'd actually copped onto themselves, and they kept Cardiff in the game up to the point where they went, actually no, this is getting ridiculous now. So they finished the game well. They finished the first half well. Didn't start particularly well. Line out malfunctions. There was some iffy kicking, with some iffy decision making from them in the 22. There was a bit of static. There was a bit of static stuff in terms of what to do from first phase ball. But when you take 10 out of 10 and you deny one of your closest pursuers anything, it's not that we're looking for reasons to complain. We're going, you know what? It's better to be going in a very strong position, but knowing that things can and should have to get better.
They should indeed. Linley, your thoughts as you shiver and shake there. We'll keep this short.
Just delighted that they got this win, and it wasn't just a win; it was a bonus point win. So,
sorry. The win is horrendous. I'll tell you what. Let's move further under the beautiful orange covering here we have in the Sportsground, but we'll keep our social distance.
I'm just delighted with the win. And more importantly, the fact that they got a bonus point win. And it was like. It was almost like 4 quarters rather than 2 halves. In both cases, the Cardiff went ahead, or didn't go ahead in the second half, obviously, but they went ahead to start with. Connacht came back, had those 2 superb tries. It was almost like they just needed to gain a little bit of confidence. I thought a possibility that this match was probably the match this season so far that has meant the most, because we've only got these 5 games left, and this was the team that was directly underneath them. Well, they were until Scarlets obviously had that win last night, but this was a really important match, and it was also to get that monkey off the back of 4 defeats in a row. So I think psychologically this was a really important victory for them, and I think that it was a period where they actually almost like, I think, grew up a little bit more, I think, this evening, matured a little bit more. They could have possibly lost it in the second half, but the way that they did come back, they struck, they kept. I like the fact that there was various different ways of scoring their tries. The pack played exceptionally well, but when you've got some players out the backs and out wide like Wootton and Porch and Daly and Bundy, who didn't probably have his best game tonight, I think, but he has been out of action from Connacht for a while. But I think it was a really good victory for them, and well deserved, because it has been a difficult time for them on occasions, but they actually really, I think, mentally grew up a little bit tonight.
I think they did, and Jack Carty had a good game with 10 as well. Some beautiful offloads in the lead up, certainly to the second try. Dave, the forwards, who impressed you?
I suppose they all did in different ways, not necessarily in the ways you would expect. Jordan Duggan for his first time. I mean, we have to say there's some guys in that pack who played some ridiculous amount of minutes. Dennis is up. Dennis has played probably for a prop over the last 5 years. Has probably played stupidly stupid amount of minutes. So it's nice to have someone like Jordan Duggan to add to the, to have three good props who show up in the loose is good. I thought Finney was excellent. I mean, Finney winning a jackal turnover is huge. I was very impressed by the guys who came off the bench as well. Nothing against it. I thought Owen Masson, who went off, was good, but Abraham coming in, and that's 2 from 2. So finally the 2 from 2 we can talk about with Abraham is a positive 2 from 2 tries, and he was sensible because he is coming from rugby. It's still coming from rugby league. It's still there, and the highlights package is him. It's running through people, but there was a bit more thought, went into it, especially immediately off the scrum. Dowling, I think we may have nicked one there. I really do. I think we may have nicked because I think the most important thing that happened was, and William and Rob mentioned in commentary, and I'm sure you guys spotted it as well, was their line-out started off, and for 35 minutes was absolutely sensational, and then it just collapsed. And it was a combination of Olsen got up and nicked one, but Dowling coming on he contested everything. Now they took Seb Davies off, which I didn't understand because their 2 second rows were having stormers, but we got in there and Dowling was part of that. But across the board, all the guys had big games, and I mean, I'm seeing the game from a completely different angle to you guys, and I'm being quite literal about it. I'm seeing it from the other side. So there's things that are happening on this side of the pitch that you guys will see. Like, I have no idea how our try manifested, the Maul try manifested itself, and I didn't know who scored it. So that's one of it. So I would bow to what the guys have said and what you say regarding the tries on that side. But what I did see over on our side was very good, especially in loose. But when it comes to what was happening in the scrums, I'm not sure anybody had a clue. Least of all the ref.
No, he certainly didn't see it. And certainly Dennis did not like when the linesman on this side, the assistant referee on this side, gave a penalty against him. I haven't seen him as angry in an awful long time. It was very funny to watch, I have to say. Right, I'll tell you what, it's so cold and it's so windy, which I'm sure is having an effect on this podcast. We're going to leave it there, and we will talk again at the next match. I think we're away next week. We're away next week. Benetton. And then we're away to Munster, which, we'll have podcasts for both of them. But we'll be back in the midweek. We'll also have the coaches' thoughts on the team selection, on the day of the team selection, and we'll leave it there. Thanks, folks.
Loose, cut it loose. Break out, or nothing changes. Sad and confused. Don't wait until